Hey guys, thank you all for listening to another episode of Laugh, Lend, and Eat the podcast, hosted by me, Bobby Nagni. Brought to you by our sponsors, First Option Mortgage and One Good One. Today's guest is Total Expert's Chief Customer Officer, Sue Woodard. Now, I've personally watched Sue from a distance over the past several years, so I'm going to tell you something. It was a total honor and a delight to spend some time with her and getting to know her and grabbing some great insight out of her. So sit back, enjoy the show. All right, everybody, welcome back to another edition of Laugh, Lend, and Eat the podcast. And we are off to a great episode today. I can already feel it. I was talking to her before we started. She just came back from vacation a few weeks ago, rested and relaxed. None other than our own Sue Woodard, Chief Customer Officer of Total Expert. Sue, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be fun. Although
we try to keep it fun, you know.
I need to be eating. I don't have anything to eat.
Nah, you know, somebody else said that to me. Like, if your show is Laugh, Let, and Eat, shouldn't you be sending out like food for the, you know what I mean? And I'll look into that. I don't know if we have the budget for that, quite honestly.
Okay, no, I can find something. You know, if I need to eat it, I can always find a snack. You know.
Yeah, you know, it's weird. They say, like, you got to, you know about branding, Sue. So, I mean, for me, someone said, you got to come up with this title that defines who you are.
Right.
It's like, these are not my top three. I mean, the only thing I couldn't stick in there was family, right?
That's
but
right.
Short of that.
I love it. It's like your values.
Yeah, this is it. If you got food and you got laughter, I'm in.
That's right. And hey, if we can lend a little along the way, life is good, right?
Right. So, Sue, how you been doing?
You know, doing actually okay. I mean, it's I said to somebody the other day, you know, I mean, it's like things are crazy, right? And it feels like for a while, you know, you're just in this boat that's rocking and you're kind of like, okay, I can hang on to the boat and I'm not going to fall out. But now it's kind of like it's still rocking. But now we're like, okay, I got to figure out how to walk around the boat and steer it while it's still rocking, right? Like,
that's a great way to put it.
Try to find your normalcy in the middle of you know, or feel stable in the midst of instability, maybe, for lack of a better term.
Well, I think you hit on it real good. I mean, really, we are all going to have a new normal, whether we like it or not.
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
You know, and I was telling somebody a few weeks ago, actually, I said, you know, if you really look at life, there's always a new normal.
Right.
Whenever something ends and you start something else, it's always a new normal. So we shouldn't be that surprised that also we have a new normal. Obviously, the entire world is going to go through it together.
Yeah.
So instead of just individually, we'll all go through it collectively.
That's exactly right. Getting to explore the new normal together and see what it looks like.
So Sue, listen, when I was doing my research on you, I did not know that you started off as a processor, I think.
I did.
Right?
Yes.
I was like, whoa, hold up here. This is like, I had to totally shift because, you know, I knew as a loan officer back here, right? And when you did all your books and all that kind of stuff. So what made you become a processor?
You know, it's funny, like most people, you know, everybody in the mortgage industry has some weird story about how they got into the business, right? Sure. It's never like this normal path, you know, it's not like this college course for it or something. So I actually was working at a credit union. I was on a little, what I'll call a pause from college. And I was working at a credit union and I was doing car loans and checking accounts and things like that. And we kept getting robbed. And the last time we got robbed, no joke, it was my best friend was a teller that got robbed. She's my roommate. And I had to go down with her, you know, at gunpoint, right? And I had to go down with her the next day to the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and look at lineups. And I was like, I got to work in a different branch, you know, a branch that's not going to get robbed all the time. The only job that was open in the credit union was a mortgage processor. And I had no idea what it was, but that was the beginning of my illustrious career in the mortgage industry. So, but I loved it. It was a great education. You know?
How long did you process for? Like a couple of months, couple of
years? Yeah, it was a number of years, but I was working at a place that, you know, was a credit union. And so we just went really, you know, you had to know everything. So you had to know everything, even about servicing and everything else, because we'd service our own loans. So I learned a ton. And I went from there to Countrywide, if you remember Countrywide.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? And at Countrywide, that was a cradle to grave shop at the time. And so we would individually originate, process, underwrite, you know, close, fund, and ship.
Right. I remember those little branches around the shopping malls or strip malls. They would put them in the strip malls.
Exactly where we were. Yep. Yeah. So I think it was a great experience because I feel like when I really, you know, I passionately fell in love with originating. But I feel like my processing background, I used to say I can't even imagine how people are originators without understanding how the process works, right?
Such a
So
great point. Such a
yeah,
great, I was an underwriter for a year and a half
yeah,
and I pulled my hair out. I was
yeah,
like, get me out of here. Like I wanted to get out and shake hands and play golf,
right on.
smoke cigars, tell dirty jokes, you know.
Your personality is definitely, you're an originator.
So I was like, what am I doing here? So I mean, I had a little moment, but it did make me a better loan officer coming out of that, to your point.
Right.
Because I began to look at loans totally different. Like I knew what the underwriter was gonna be looking for. It
Yep.
didn't always mean that I was gonna do it, but I tried my better. I mean, I got better after that.
Exactly.
So what do you enjoy better? I mean, on the ops side or on the origination side? Where is your personality?
My personality is totally the origination side. I
Yeah.
fell head over heels in love with the origination side. And I still am. I'm like very passionately in love with this industry, I would say, just because
Mhm.
of, and it was so, in your face all the time, I would say, for lack of a better term, when you are originating, because, what we do, I mean, I always like to say, like, I'm sure the people that make, chapstick are like, super like, wow, we like soothe people's lips, and that's super important. But when you think about what we do in the mortgage business, we're working with people, particularly when you're really looking at the purchase business, which is like the backbone of it all, right?
Mhm.
If somebody's going through something personal, big personal change in their life when they buy a home, right? I mean, they're maybe getting married, getting divorced, somebody's been born, somebody's died, somebody's gotten a new job,
Yeah.
moving across the country. It's like a really personal time in their life. And I just think, man, people's home is where that's where their life happens. That's where their family happens. It's where they laugh and cry. And, I mean, goodness, right now, everything in our entire lives basically is happening in our
Yeah.
home. So your
Do you-
home is like this amazing place. And, we have this intersection of ability to come in at a time and work with people at something very deeply personal, but we have to really apply a lot of guidance to help them make great decisions. And it was just a marriage of things that just absolutely, like I said, always been in love with the mortgage industry.
We're going to zigzag a lot. That's why I do this stuff. So
Yeah.
bounce with me a little bit, okay? But you hit something so keen right now that with like this whole movement with fintech mortgage lending, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about AI and robots. And actually, if you like, I think Countrywide actually back in the 90s had the ATM machine that could do a HELOC or something. I'd heard, I don't know,
Oh, yeah.
those
They
were
were
rumors,
very advanced, actually.
right?
Ahead of their
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
And so is there a point where that human element just you can't replace that human element? Because you were just talking about some very human touch.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I always wondered, like fintech, could we actually take fintech and really replace the loan originator? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to say no. I'm not. I mean, I think there's a phrase you've probably heard batted around where we say like the technology isn't going to replace a loan officer, but the loan officers leveraging technology will replace the ones who are not.
Okay, that's a
Right.
great way.
So,
Yeah.
so I do think that I'll give you a great example. One of the folks I work with here um, just went through this process where he needed to purchase a house, or he was going to purchase a house. He needed to do it non-contingent on the sale of his current house. Figuring that out, how that was going to work. How do you structure all of that? Going through the stress of it. What do you need? How does the timing work? What's going to happen? He literally said to me, and we're a technology company. He said,
Yeah.
there's no possible way. There is no technology that will ever come up during this time when my wife is crying every night because she's freaking out that we're not going to be able to sell the house, when I'm stressed out, wondering what's going to happen, when, feeling the confidence that I needed to at this really important, very personal and financial, large financial thing in my life. He said, there's no way I could do this without a human being.
So I
So
mean, yeah, I mean, when you look at those kind of scenarios, I mean, there are so many different variations, and then also, look, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of people not missing their deadlines right now.
that's right.
There's the pressures on operations, and
Yeah.
it's, I mean, we've had customers where, like things happen, and you have to be able to pick up the phone and tell them, hey, Mr. Customer, I'm sorry, we're doing our best. We'll get you on this day.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
those are the kind of things that I do wonder where we may be overshooting our capabilities on the technology side. So it's
Yeah.
good to get your viewpoint on that.
Well,
You,
right now
you,
it's a very human business. I mean,
I think the more we actually make it human, I think, quite honestly, better off we are as loan officers, right? Because then we're kind of irreplaceable. At least some of us.
well,
Maybe I am.
yeah, exactly. Well, humans are attracted to other humans. And do I think there's more parts of it that could be made more efficient, right? For customers and for us as lenders, that could be made more efficient with more technology? Sure. Do I think the industry is going to look exactly the same, in 5 years or 10 years? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
Do I see, and I can even say this coming from a technology company, do I think the technology is going to mean there are no humans involved in this business in, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Absolutely not.
So you made the switch January 2018 to Total Expert.
I did.
January 11th.
Mm-hmm.
How's that? Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I'm impressed. Good.
So when you decided to go with a technology company, and I don't know where you were previously, I can't remember, right? I think you were in the mortgage business or you were doing something coaching. I didn't get into all that, but what made you say, I want to do this? Like Total Expert is the company I want to be aligned with, because you had a pretty good brand, right?
Well, thank you.
And so for you to align your brand with another company, you give it a lot of boost for at least in my view.
Well,
this
thank
perception.
you. Thank you. No, I actually had been working at another company that had kind of evolved into being a technology company, that I had actually made the decision to leave because I was concerned about execution, right? About doing what you say you're going to be able to do. And so I actually took 8 months off in 2017. I called it my sabbatical. It was awesome. Like, it was incredible. I had so much fun. But eventually I was, ready to get back into the game. And I had met Joe Well, our CEO at Total Expert, in a competitive situation. Actually, we were both competing for the same customer, and he won. And so he had, gotten in touch with me, and we'd stayed in touch. And there was 2 things that I was looking for in a company. And one of them was a company that would do what they say they were going to do. And no company is going to be perfect, right? No company, no human, no relationship is always, flawless, right? But to know that the desire was there to always put customers first and to always do the right thing by the customers and live up to what you say you're going to do. Even if you don't always hit a date, okay, but you always have this focus on doing what you say you're going to do was critically important to me. Partly because, yes, I have a lot of great relationships, like yours, in our industry, and I wanted to be able to put my name behind something. The other thing I was looking for is just I wanted a CEO who was all in, somebody who is really passionately, just obsessively in love with our customers, and Joe is. And so that was the other thing that really drew me to Total Expert.
But that's a double-edged sword for a CEO to be that passionate, isn't it? I've worked with some CEOs that are that passionate also. And let's be honest, Sue, there are moments you're like, dude, don't be that passionate.
Yeah. But, it's interesting because Joe is certainly, he's super intense. He's super passionate. But man, if I had to trade one way or the other, I will take hardcore 150% driving passion and intensity every single day of the week.
That's awesome. When someone's looking around for a CRM, because look, there's a lot of new CRMs that have been coming in the market. I get bombarded all day long. So, people are trying to get me to talk to them, and it's really not even my angle in the company. Like that, they keep me away from it.
Yeah.
But how does somebody actually make a decision? Like, what's something that you would say, hey, these are 2 or 3 things you should be really looking for if you're really looking for a CRM for your company? What's important?
Well, I'll tell you what I believe is the most important thing, and it might surprise you because it's nothing about it's got to have this feature or it's got to have this, whatever. To me, the most important thing is far less about the specific functionalities or features or what have you than it is that you're choosing the right partner. That you're choosing a horse you're going to get on and you're going to be partnered with, and you want to choose a partner that is driven, that is obsessively passionate about making your customers successful. You want to choose a company that has the backing and funding to be able to honestly be really innovative into the future, because people, I think, and the people we work with at Total Expert, we have a great family of customers. It's not about, people don't choose us right now simply for where we're at right now. They're choosing for where we're going, right? And so that to me is the most important thing is, you can do feature comparisons and, a lot of them, honestly, you get to a point where it's like, everyone's going to have some of the same stuff. Do I think we've got some really unique things? Absolutely. But it's far more about where you're going, where you're headed in the future. And we want to go along with you because our customers rely on us to be looking to the future.
So where are we going? I mean,
Yeah.
we talked about, we know we win the last 5 years. I was on with Michael Hammond a few days ago on his show,
Yep.
and we're talking about like just in the last 5 years, the revolutionary that's happened. I mean, with the
Yeah.
advent of smartphones, I mean, compared to 2015, how much of my smart life is on a smartphone today?
Yeah.
Ordering pizza, ordering Amazon, doing a
Everything.
mortgage loan app.
Yes, everything. Exactly.
So, I mean, where are we going? I mean, as far as total expert in the mortgage industry, where do you see it going in the next few years?
What I will tell you is the big themes that I'm seeing are around a couple of things. Customer experience is a big one. And I think particularly interesting in the mortgage industry for so many years, and you've been in the business a long time too, it was almost like it was a rite of passage to like, you have to go through these feats of strength in order to get a mortgage. You have to fill out all these things and, faxing and all this. Well, now really the consumer is saying, the customer is saying, I need this experience to work like my Amazon does, right? I
Mhm.
need it to be a little bit more, not that it's not going to involve people, but I need it to feel good to me. It needs to be okay for me and not just, this painful, horrific thing. So I think there's a lot of work to be done around consumer experience. And what ties right into that is also data and intelligence. I think that's where we're going to see some of the biggest and most exciting moves in
Mhm.
technology in general, and certainly in our industry in the next few years. There's so many data points out there that when you really start to put the data together and you start to really delve into some of the artificial intelligence,
Mhm.
um, it's kind of like, I like to use the example of like, if it was just, somebody, your spouse, your partner, your roommate, and you're with them all the time and you can watch all the little things, you have intuition about like, I bet they're getting ready to yell at me, to go to bed, to,
Yeah.
whatever.
It's always number one with me, Sue, by the way. My
Yeah, right.
wife, number one. It's always number one.
Right. Maybe eat something, who knows? But I think what you can't do that with, with all of your customers and all of the contacts and all of the prospects. But when you put data together, it's almost, I like to call them almost not just artificial intelligence, but artificial intuition, because it starts to raise up those signs and signals that tell you somebody's needs something, somebody's getting ready to do something. They're having an event in their life. And wouldn't it be great if you would arrive at the right time and say, based on all the things that I can see here, hey, it seems like, you may be thinking about, you could need a
Yeah.
mortgage.
So
You
there
could
was a
need a home
Tom
equity
Cruise
loan.
movie like this where they predicted the crimes that somebody was going to
Right.
commit,
Remember that? The big
right?
screens and, oh yeah, I love
Yeah. So that's what you're
that.
kind of talking about as far as, right?
Yeah.
This marketing kind of bringing it into a more of a
Whoa,
consumer.
I like that. That's good. Yeah, no, it's a perfect analogy because, and so I do think that the more data that we put into place, the more intelligence that's there, the better we do at raising up and really serving those customers the right experiences, the right message at the right time to the right person based on what's happening in their life.
So is this where we start crossing the line of creepy versus cool that as you quoted one time?
Creepy versus cool. It's funny that you say, yeah, exactly. Because like, thinking back to your movie analogy, that was creepy, right? He's in
Yeah.
the house and catches the guy before he, what I'll tell you about that is I tend to think that especially the generations coming up, right? It's an expectation. It's no longer creepy, right? It is
Mm.
an expectation that, I remember somebody said to me recently, like when they're scrolling through their Facebook, they said, they see this cool pair of shoes. She said, if I click it, she said, I don't need to like bookmark it and whatever, because she said, it's going to come up again. It's
Right.
going to
I
come
did
up
the
again
same
and
thing.
again
Yeah.
until I buy it. So she said, I have an expectation that I'm going to be served up the things that are most interesting to me. And, the only thing that gets creepy to me is I wonder sometimes what data points have I put out there that make like, I got like an ad for, pajama jeans, which are like the super stretchy, like jeans for old ladies. And I was like, okay, okay, people, like, you
Well,
know,
just for the
oh,
record, it's better you get it than I get the pajama jeans,
I
right?
was a little offended though. I'm like, I'm only 51. Nobody's sending me the fiber and the pajama jeans, whatever. But I do think, when you start to get creepy, we probably all had those
Sure.
experiences. So when you talk about something and suddenly it shows up in a feed somewhere,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that borders on a bit creepy,
So,
right?
but coming back to the mortgage business, I mean, are we going to be able to say, based on this guy's search on Google, looks like he's about to buy a house, or he,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes,
Because also they're searching school districts, they're searching distance of
100%.
driving from a new address to their home.
Absolutely. And some of
I
that
don't,
happens now, right? I mean,
right.
like, you think about folks like Sales Boomerang, right? There's already really cool technology out there, doing some really amazing things exactly like you're talking about.
So we're kind of giving up our privacy for that convenience, like your friend and I do, right? Where I do the same thing your friend does, where I tag certain things because I know it'll keep popping up now for a while until I'm ready to make that decision of buying it.
Yep.
So, but we're giving up our rights of privacy, kind of similar
I don't
to a lot
know.
of, right?
That's a thorny issue, because there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot of regulation around privacy and some of the things even, I read this morning that the CEO of TikTok is resigning because, there's this push to, you can't have TikTok because of privacy, where's our data going? Globally, privacy is an issue, and it's exactly that. It's a battle between, data and how good does it make our lives versus privacy. But we've got to find a happy middle ground. In some places banks, I think, are in some cases, I can tell you my own bank that I bank at is so conservative with their data that, and you can understand why, but they don't tie together the pieces that would actually be helpful to me. It's like I'm giving them all of these signs and signals that it's like, you shouldn't even have to really read between the lines. You should be able to tell I'm getting ready to move. Like, there should be something that you're reaching out to me on, so we've got to find that middle ground.
Yeah. I have a little cousin of mine, and he's not little, he's like in his 40s, and he's a CEO of a cybersecurity company here in the DC metro market. And he told me years ago, we've already given up everything, just have fun and enjoy the ride. And when he said that, I was like, really? Is like, there's really nothing left. And he goes, if you're going on the internet and you're shopping, he goes, everyone knows everything about you already.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're starting to like bring back into, or maybe I'm becoming aware that we're doing that now, the mortgage business, or maybe it's already been going on for years and I'm just now finding out. But
yeah, well, and I think that's true. I actually think that's probably more true than we think. If you've ever been outside and even just look around there's cameras everywhere, right? And even that, I remember noticing that years ago, and suddenly I was like, wow, I guess every single thing that I do can be seen. And,
and you ever watch those TV shows? I mean, by the way, I don't really watch a lot of movies or TV shows like I may sound, but I do see those TV shows where some detective will go hunt down somebody because they saw the camera next to the coffee shop or something.
Right, exactly.
And they're able to get the right angle of the car. I'm like, oh my, that's real life. That's happening right now.
Well, the interesting thing that I think happens though, just as you're thinking about like data and so forth, is I do think that it puts a little bit more responsibility, which is not bad, on us to be in touch with our finances, in touch with our data. I had my wallet stolen right out of my purse while it was like, it was terrible. Anyways, and it was a big hardcore, identity theft, right? They went full on, right? Like created little fake IDs with my information, cash out of my bank account. It was hardcore. But it was interesting because what it caused is, number one, I realized, already a lot of my data is out there now. Definitely all my data is out there, as well as like my kids' picture and stuff, it's like, but at the same time, it got me really in touch with looking at my money, looking at my credit, looking at, my finances, looking at my credit card. And I think sometimes people, like, our money has gotten very frictionless. Like, people lose touch of money because it's all just happening. We're all Venmoing things around, and and it's not bad to have a little bit of friction in your money where you keep a little bit closer eye on what is really my financial situation, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. You made a video about it back a few months ago with you and Joe about the financial wellness.
Yes, exactly.
So you're kind of bringing up the same topics for loan officers to be talking to their borrowers about.
Yes. Well, and I think especially in this climate, it's a time when people need advice and help on financial wellness. And if it's not the person you're talking to, it's probably 1 degree of separation away. That there's somebody who's struggling with everything that's happening right now, right? So many lives have been impacted.
Absolutely.
People need help. People need advice. And I do think it's a time that for our industry, where we were kind of the villains in 2008, we can be the heroes now of reaching out. You think about even all the refinancing activity. It doesn't have as much emotion to it. It's more of a financial transaction. You can be changing somebody's life, putting an extra $300 in their pocket every month. Could be
consolidating a debt or whatever for them.
That's right.
Me, when I was a loan officer, I used to love doing those debt consolidation loans because you could literally show these borrowers, look, you're going to have $1,100 more every month.
Right.
Please don't go into debt again.
Yes, exactly. Just don't let me see you back here.
Right?
Right.
I mean, it was just like, please, please do me a favor. I mean, as much as money I keep making off of you, don't do this again. So,
Exactly.
so let's go back to some happier moments when our privacy was our privacy.
Yeah, exactly.
You wrote this book and I can't remember, but I know the name of it because I wrote it down here. It's called Cracking the Code.
I didn't write that book. Yeah,
You
I
didn't
know
write
you
that
mentioned
book?
that cracking the code.
That wasn't you?
Mm-mm.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought on the internet somewhere. They've given you credit for it.
I'll have to Google it. No, I mean, it could have been. I'll
You
have
may
to
be
look it up.
missing out on some royalty checks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Wait a second. Maybe I did, but no. And I'm trying to even think of what it was. I wonder if it was during the mortgage market guide days.
Was it a playbook or something?
Could have been. Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely had a lot of playbooks and
I
a
remember
lot
you
of
had the
material.
playbooks. So
Yeah,
if someone's starting off as a brand new loan officer today
yeah,
in 2000, I mean, because now look, I mean, both you and I span a pretty good sizable moment of years in the mortgage business, right?
yeah.
Things have changed. Let's be honest, right?
Yes.
What number one piece of advice you would give a brand new loan officer today to make sure that they're successful moving forward?
I would say ask for help.
Hmm.
Ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Um, it has every single one of us has gotten somewhere in our lives, personally or professionally, generally because somebody has helped us. Somebody has reached out and given us a hand.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes people fear asking for help because there's a fear that maybe, oh my gosh, they're going to find out I'm not as smart, as they think I am, or that I don't know something I'm supposed to know. But man, I just think that the best things in life come when you connect with somebody that is awesome at something that you're not, and you can humble yourself to say, man, I need help. And
Yeah.
generally people really respond to that. People respond to doing that because they know somebody did that for them as well. Right. And so I think it's important, even in every area of your life, who are you asking for help? I talk sometimes about even getting like a personal board of directors. I know you've heard that, kind of that idea before. It's like something out of Harvard
Sure.
Business Review. But really coming up with people sometimes that are different than you or know more than you or have different backgrounds from you, and just ask for the help that you need. And you'll be surprised at how many people step up and are willing to help. And I think just being, as I said, I guess being willing to ask that question.
I always like having that one guy in my corner that's always going to disagree with me.
Yeah,
I have
exactly.
that one guy right now, right? He's a good friend of mine, and I know if I talk to him about some ideas or something, he's always somehow or another, he's going to find that little loose brick in the wall that I've created and just
Yes.
poke on it and poke on
Yeah.
it.
And don't you love that though? I mean, because
Sometimes.
yeah, yeah, sometimes, right? But you bring up a great point. I'm so glad you said that because I think sometimes people run away from the people. We tend to talk to people only that agree with us. And, a really good personal board of directors is a very intentional group of people that generally have a couple of those in there.
Yeah,
Because
you have to.
everybody listening to this, you already have a personal board of directors, whether you formalized it, and it's just who are the people you're talking to all the time, your
Yeah.
friends, whatever. And generally, they are going to be the people that are constantly being like, yeah, Bobby, you're awesome. Yep, you're doing great. That sounds really good. You need people to push back, right? That's how we get better.
Except until I get that one buddy of mine, he's gonna be like, "I was going through this, and what about this?" And I'm like, "Oh no, he found the one thing that I didn't want to talk about."
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's right. But you know what? We need those people.
We do, and I always appreciate it. But we argue, but we always call up each other and always make up. So, what moment in your life can you point to where, like, maybe somebody gave you that piece of advice, somebody really helped you, that changed your journey, where you can say, "Boom," and this is where I am today because of that.
I would say that I was, there's lots of them, right? I mean, you think about those life-changing moments. I mean, we have a lot, and you don't really recognize them sometimes until they're in the rearview mirror,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But I can tell you, looking back, a life-changing one was being invited to do a speaking engagement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was when, I was originating and I had met, people like Barry Habib and Greg Frost and Todd Duncan. And I was going to all these conferences and, sitting at the feet of these, great minds. And I remember, Barry said, no, there's no women doing speaking engagements, none. It's all a bunch of men. And it was Mortgage Originator magazine back in the day. and really deciding that I was going to try it, right? It was the very first thing I did. It was an interview with me and Cindy Ertman, a million years ago. And that kind of led to a speaking engagement. And I didn't have any designs on doing any of that, doing speaking or anything like that. And, now at this point, I probably have spoken, I would say 1,000 times. And that was absolutely life-changing and path-changing for me. Because, and it's something to consider for people listening, that if you haven't done, gotten yourself comfortable, with speaking, it's one of the, I think, smartest things that you can take on, personally and professionally. It's opened a lot of doors. I've met a lot of people. I've had a lot of really cool opportunities. And
you still get nervous when you go on the podium?
Oh my gosh. I used to, seriously, I used to throw up every single time.
No.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Every single time.
Like, you didn't throw up when I met you in Atlanta for that NAMBA convention about to speak, right? Because I hugged you right before you went on the podium.
No, that day. Yeah. No, I didn't throw up that day. But no, I mean, because I've been speaking now for probably, about 20 years. And I don't throw up anymore. So that's good. But I still get nervous. But I think if you're not nervous, something's wrong, And I remember somebody telling me, Pat Sherlock, she was talking about, it's about getting your, you have butterflies, but, you get them organized and flying in the right direction. Use that as, read that as excitement, not nervousness. And,
I think when you speak, though, you learn a lot, though, because I know, like, for me, interviewing people like you, Sue, has been one of the most eye-opening events that probably happened in my career. Because I didn't even consider this until Jason Frazier, right?
Yeah.
Says to me, because I'm doing these webinars where you got to sign up and register, and then we come on for 2 hours or 1 hour, and I'm like freaking out because it's live and this and that. And he's like, Bob, just record them and make a podcast. I'm like, what are you talking about, Jason? And then it was like and so since then I've interviewed a bunch of people. I mean, I think you're number 19 or something like, right? Yeah. This year alone, I have learned so much from just this interaction. Do you find that same when you're speaking and preparing your speeches?
Totally. Absolutely. It's been the greatest education. I think especially when you're speaking, it's kind of one way, right? You're kind of speaking. The process of doing the research and thinking about things very deeply and going down different roads to think about what's going to bring the most value. Oh my gosh, I've learned a ton. And I also have times that I speak on something and I think, oh, that's good advice. I should take that, like good reminder to me. But doing things like this, being able to do things like this, even being at events and you hear, other speakers and all those things. I mean, I am like very intellectually curious. And I love the ability to do that. I mean, I'm learning, listening to you just in this conversation. I love it.
Yeah. And I'm going to switch gears a little bit, but real quick, when you are listening to other speakers, do you find yourself like comparing notes or saying, oh my God, I really want to absorb that and execute it in my life?
What I always look for is whenever I'm listening to a speaker or even when I read a book, I do a ton of reading as well. I am always looking for, I'm always interested when I watch people speak to observe, people who are just fantastic speakers and how they do it. And that's always interesting to me. But what I try to do is anytime that I am reading or listening is to kind of find the even if it's one nugget that I can take away, 1 to 5 most. And to take the thing that you can go away and actually go do. Who can I share this with? How can I implement this in my life? And I really try to, like time block time to say, I'm going to go actually do that. Because otherwise, I remember my brother said to me years ago, he's like, if you read all these books, but you don't ever do anything different, then what are you doing? You might as well be like sleeping or, watching TV or whatever, unless you're going to take something out of it and go actually make a change or share it with somebody or do something.
What kind of books do you like?
Oh my gosh, I have a whole wonderful stack here. I seriously do, I have, I'll show you. I've got some wonderful books here. So I've got Extreme Ownership.
Okay.
Which is an awesome one, Jocko Willink. I've got Banking on Digital Growth.
Oh my gosh.
Smarter Bank.
Okay. We're seeing a pattern.
Right? Disrupt or Die by our buddy Jeff Zimfer. If you haven't seen him, that's killer. The Speed of Trust. Stephen Covey.
Yep.
Start with No. Old School, Jim Camp. excellent book on negotiating, one of my favorites. Traction, it's a business
Okay.
operating system. Gina Wickman. Opportunity Knocks, Senator Tim Scott.
Yeah, heard him
We
the other
have
night.
The Edu-Marketer by Ginger Bell, our buddy Ginger Bell.
Yeah,
Again,
Ginger. Yeah,
rock
yeah.
star. So this is my stack that
So
I.
that's your weekend reading. You're getting ready
Yeah,
on
exactly.
Thursday.
Exactly. Yeah, but that's what I'm reading right now. You know, kind of bits, pieces, digging through them. Sometimes I've read those already, a few of them multiple times.
I read this book recently called Blink. Have you read that one?
Yeah. It's Malcolm Gladwell, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I did a master class with them on writing.
Oh,
And so then
what'd
I
you
got
learn?
this book, Blink, and it was just really, I mean, that whole using your gut, the intuition, really listening to it really helped me a lot. So, there is something to be said about reading, even in this day and age.
Good advice. I like that.
So, switching gears, I wanted to really, really dive into this. I know we're coming up on the end here, but I wanted to see how much time we could spend on this. You had a really cool thing about the flywheel, right? Critical consumer engagement for a loan officer.
Yeah.
And that is no longer a funnel, it's now a flywheel.
Flywheel, if you're doing it right.
Right?
Yes.
I wanted to kind of dig into that because I wanted to get your insight because you made the comments.
Yeah.
I wanted you to tell me what's the difference, I mean, between a funnel and a flywheel when it comes to getting consumer engagement, consumer leads, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, it's interesting when you think about the funnel, like the concept of the funnel. And I remember the brilliant Mel Marsh, who is at Movement. She's over at Cardinal now. She's like, it's funny when people say a funnel, like naturally when a lead falls in that they're going to just, naturally just go down to the bottom. She's like, are you kidding me? She said, it's like upside down where you're having to like push that lead, to actually get them. It's not that easy, right? But yeah, we look at it actually as a flywheel, because if you're doing it right, it's you attract someone, right? You attract somebody into the flywheel, you engage with them, and then amaze them. And then it all starts over again. Attract, engage, amaze is how we look at it. And the reason we talk about it as a flywheel is if you're doing it right, your journey is really never over with that customer, right?
Right.
Never over. And if you're looking at it as if it's transactional and linear, or the funnel where they drop out the bottom and then who knows what happens to them, you're not doing it right. Whether it is something that, I remember I had a gal that I literally never did a mortgage for in my business, but she referred me more customers than all of the rest of. She was my highest referring, not even customer, lead, right? Because it just was never the right time, for her. But she'd had such a good experience, right? So even somebody like that, you think about, the repeat business you can do for somebody, the referral business that you can do for someone. And all the different stages of people's lives, where they're, moving up, they're downsizing, they've got a second home, they need to tap into their equity, they need to restructure their debt, whatever those things are. If you're doing it right, it is a flywheel. It's a flywheel rather than a funnel.
Do you think, so for me, and I've seen different channels on this, but it seems what you just said is it's really more of a distributed retail loan officer type of model. Whereas a consumer direct model seems to be more of a funnel, or maybe an upside down funnel. I don't know, but it seems CD guys are more transactional. Retail guys tend to be more relationship based.
I think that's true, but I really think about it also at the enterprise level, because again, if you're doing this right as the enterprise, you're bringing them into, your family, right? Whether they came in the door, into the flywheel through consumer direct, wonderful. That just means that, somebody got lucky, had the right ad and right number and, got on the phone and that deal worked out. But you should still be bringing them into that flywheel, because regardless of how they came in, that person is going to have, additional needs over time. They know people who have needs. And I feel like we miss a lot when we've looked at it as very much like, I'm going to do the transaction, move on, do the transaction and move on.
You mentioned Cardinal. I forgot the lady's name, but are they one of the companies that you would think are doing it the right way, the way we were describing it, or is there a company that you could say?
So many companies that are, to me, doing it the right way. Cardinal's certainly one of them. They're part of the family first option, part of the family. There's, I have the joy in my position here at Total Expert to be able to talk to a lot of different customers and and a lot of people who are customers to be, as I like to call them, people that aren't in the family yet. And I marvel at the minds of the people out there, but I think, yes, more people are looking at it as, and that's why they come to Total Expert, is they're not just wanting to do the transaction and done and go out and find a new one, go do the transaction and done and go find a new one. They're saying, how do we actually create intelligent journeys, you know, that are going to be in place and it's going to stay in place for a lifetime. And that's, you know, that's the win.
I think the key word you just said that just really, really resonated was journey. I mean, I like that. I mean, I'm gonna hold on to that one, Sue. That's my one nugget for me, definitely, Laura. Yeah. I'm like that because really, I mean, we're talking about, you know, let's say it's a first time home buyer, right? I mean, they're starting off brand new.
Yeah.
You got to figure you can at least get 3 to 5 more transactions before this all over as a company, as an institution. Maybe not as a loan officer, right?
Right.
But as an institution, you should be able to harvest that 3 to 5 times.
Absolutely.
That's a great token.
Yeah.
What's some mistakes companies, loan officers make when it comes to engaging borrowers?
Not doing it. I mean, you know, truly, and this is where, again, it's like it kind of goes back to the beginning of our conversation, right? This is to me where technology comes into play. If you don't have technology in place and you don't have a system in place, it's almost impossible. If you're doing things right, you're not going to be able to stay in contact with people because you just have too many people to try to stay in touch with, right? Mm-hmm. And so the mistakes that I see made, and I remember as an originator, I will never forget having a blinding flash of the obvious one day because I would do a pre-approval and I would file them away in my drawer and wait for them to call back. Okay? And one day I was like, oh my gosh, what if I stayed in contact with them? You know, what could happen? Oh, ridiculous. But there still is too much of that. There still is too much of, you know, a lead goes cold or you're not having enough contact with it. You know, one of the things that happens right now in the world we live in is people are multi-apping. You know, people are applying at 2, 3, 4, 5 different companies, partly because in some cases they don't even mean to. They're just on their phone doing something and it's like, whoops, I applied for a loan somewhere else, you know? Wow. So if you're not staying in contact, somebody else is, right? Yeah. And so whether it's upfront, whether it's like being there to soothe their concerns during the process itself, and then really being there after to say, you know, how else can I help you? What information do you need? Who else do you know in your life that might need help? You know, how can I be here to educate you and give you, you know, advice about financial wellness? I mean, that's what it's about.
Is it incumbent on the company to be the leader in engagement, or is it more important for the loan officer to be engaged with the company? I mean, with
you ask me, I say the company, you know, because I think it should be driven and enabled by a company. I mean, the best companies that we work with are the ones that come in, invest in something, and I think it's great to have, you know, an originator, you know, participate in that and have to have some skin in the game. You know, a lot of companies do that, but this has got to be led from, in my opinion, it's got to be led from the top. The best loan officers, the best originators, they're going to be successful if you give them a pack of Post-it notes, right? Right. I mean, seriously, they'll figure out the system and they will be successful. And so if you as a company don't put something in place for them to engage with and embrace and show the best practices and get the secret sauce and turn it on and help really empower and enable that, a few loan officers, you know, your top 10%, they're going to be successful anyways. The rest of them are going to suffer, right? And so why do that?
Yeah. As a manager, I mean, one of the things that I've always been challenged with is the loan officer that says, yeah, I just don't want to use it. I just, you know, I mean, Fab, I know it's great. Yeah. Thank you for giving me the access. Love Total Expert, Fab. I love all this stuff, but it's way beyond mine. I don't need it. I'm so busy. I'm so busy, right?
Yeah, I'll tell you the secret. The secret is something we call it Total Expert, all in, all on. And what this means is that this is where the leadership of a company comes in and says, we get it. You're busy. You're super busy right now. I'm not going to ask you to sit down in front of a computer and do a bunch of stuff and like, great. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our way, the way that we do things. We're going to put journeys in place, right? For a lead, for somebody in process, for post-closing, for your referral partners. We're going to put the best things out there, our secret sauce out there, and we're going to turn it on. And yes, is every single word in every single piece going to sound exactly like the way that you might word it, or you might word it, or you might word it? Nope. Mm-hmm. But you're going to have this brilliant system in place that's working for you so that you don't have to worry about that. Is somebody following up? Yes, because that's what the technology is doing. Is somebody in contact to let them know that X has happened during the transaction? Yes, because that's what that system is doing. Is somebody following up later on to ask about referrals or what else? Yes, that's happening. I mean, that to me, that's the magic. So I mean, it really is.
So it's really up to the company to set the infrastructure, you're saying, right? And then the loan officer can either choose to participate in the infrastructure or not, but the infrastructure is there for their consumer to utilize, whether the loan officer is there or not.
Well, yes. I mean, like I said, to me, this is all about, it's a leadership thing, and some
Mhm.
companies will go in and say, we don't want to like upset people. We'll tell them it's there if they want to use it. When I was an originator, that would have been my worst nightmare. Oh, sit down, do this thing, build this out. I would have
Right.
like, oh my gosh. But if you just enable the magic to happen so that they can go do what they do best, and there's things like, we've got something called a daily digest, right? And it pushes out like to your phone. You don't have to go digging, looking at anything. Here's what's going on. Here's who's interacted with your marketing. You may want to call them. Here's somebody's birthday. Here's a loan anniversary. Make these calls,
Yeah.
right? Like put it here, make it easy, make the magic happen. But you got to lead from the top to do that.
And so what if you, this is an idea that I had, right? So I'll just throw it out here. Like I said, hey, we should maybe create a department to engage the consumers for the loan officers that we can see who are not engaging.
Yeah.
Because as a company, I want to make sure the consumer knows we're still here for them.
Yep.
So does that, I mean, is that crossing any lines, or is that okay? Or what do you think?
Totally do that. Absolutely. Okay. I mean, it's just, I think everybody has to figure out how to do things in an efficient way. How do you take your secret sauce and then make it scalable? That's always the magic, right? Because if it's just, you running your business, I mean, that was something I used to do. I mean, I paid a lot to have fantastic assistants to stay in contact, to engage, to do all of those things. But realistically, when you're building a company, building a business, what suffers is exactly that when you get busy, right? Yeah. So I think about right now, everybody's busy doing all this refinancing. Somebody else is out there gaining relationships if you aren't using technology in a smart way to stay in touch.
How simple is Total Expert for people who've never used Total Expert? You know what I mean? That may be listening today. How simple is Total? I mean, is it one of those where I click a button and everything turns on and the names and addresses flow into it and it's all automated? Or is this something that I'm going to be creating campaigns that drive a guy like me, by the way, just FYI, crazy?
Yeah.
I can never figure out how to get the email campaign to work right. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Which one is it?
I can tell you it's somewhere in between, and I'll tell you why. When you have really robust technology, right, that really has a lot of capabilities to it, it's not going to be just, you just flip a switch and then everything just like it happened, because it's just, it's robust.
Okay.
That being said, it goes back to the point that we were talking about, that when, like when we have a new customer come on, and join the Total Expert family, we have an amazing implementation team that helps set up all those best practices, right? And this to me is where the magic happens, is you want to have the best practices set up. What happens to a lead? What happens in process? What happens post-close? What happens to your referral partners? And turn it on and let it happen. We have some of our like biggest success stories, happen with people not touching it, right? Yeah. Like we'll have I just had somebody yesterday calling and saying, well, I want to see how many people are logging in. And I was like, logging in? They don't need to log in. Like you're getting, look what's happening. Like you're getting a massive, lead engagement. You're getting pull through. You're getting like, look at all of these results that you're having. Don't right now be judging based on a loan officer logging in. You want them out doing deals and, building relationships. Yeah. Let us make the rest of it happen. So, yeah. So there's the two levels, I would say, right?
Yeah. I remember, like for me, it was really a turning point. I think in my third or fourth year, I ran into a borrower at a shopping mall and she hugged me and she was all happy. I'd done a loan for her purchase. And then she was telling me she had refinanced to a lower rate. And I was like, well, why didn't you call me? And she literally said, I'll never forget, this is one of those things that you never forget. She goes, oh, I only thought you did purchase loans. I didn't think you did refinances.
Yes. Yes.
And this was like the late 90s, right? So these CRMs weren't really that available.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, how do I stay in touch with these borrowers? What do I do to make sure, you know what I mean? And it just drove me batty.
Exactly.
Until something, I think it was Loan Toolbox, or I can't remember which one it was.
Exactly.
I just subscribed to it myself. My company didn't do it, but I just did it because I was like, I am not ever going to lose a deal. Yep. They don't know I'm still alive.
I had the same experience. I had a very similar experience where a lady called me and she said, she's telling this very humorous story about, you wouldn't believe what I had to go through to find your information. I dug up to the attic, dug through my boxes because I really wanted to work with you again. I couldn't find it. And so that. She's telling me this crazy story and I'm like, ha, ha, ha. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I making it so hard for somebody to find me?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well,
we live and learn.
Yeah, we do, Sue. And listen,
and we laugh and lend and eat.
Yeah, laugh, lend, and eat. So I haven't asked somebody this in a long time, and it feels like a long time at least, right? What's your favorite food that you eat? Because you travel a lot also like I do, right? You probably travel 5 times as much as I do. Like you come home, You know what I mean? And you're like, I gotta eat this comfort food that's gonna make me feel like Sue again. Is there a food like that?
It's so funny that you asked that, because it definitely, it changes. Now I was a single girl for a very long time, and soup was my go-to, right? And I'd have the progressive soup. I will tell you that right now, like my top favorite, and I would eat it every single day for the rest of my life, is chicken piccata.
Oh wow, my wife loves that too.
It's just like the perfect combination of like I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
You
know.
like that brown butter over it or something, right? With
Yes,
with a little bit of lemon tang or something
yeah,
like
the
that, right?
capers and
You're gonna
get
go get it
hungry.
tonight.
Get hungry. I'm gonna have to go have lunch.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Sue. I really, really appreciate getting to know you even better than I've gotten to know you in the past. This was a great conversation. I'm sure our listeners are going to enjoy this. All the best to you in the future with Total Expert. I'm sure you're going to kill it anyway without me saying that.
You too, Bob. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Okay, Sue? Thank you. Talk soon.
Bye.
Well, there it is. Amazing episode with Sue Woodard. She was so open. She was so generous with her time and her knowledge and experience. I love this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you once again to First Option Mortgage and One Good One for all that you guys keep doing to support our show. Look forward to hearing your all's comments. And please, please, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. I think the link is down below you. If you look there, you hit that button subscribe, and you will be notified every time we post a new video. So I'll look forward to hearing from you all soon. Have a good one.